We now bring in our fantasy experts, Jamey, Eisenberg, and Heath Cummings. And Jamey, we'll get to your winners first. Who were you impressed by the most?
Well, Zach, it was a great day for the start of the week with Justin Fields having finally his best game of the season. So that was exciting to see. And, hopefully it's a sign of things to come for a guy that we were drafting as a top 5 quarterback. So love that from Justin Fields. I hope Devon Achane has now established himself as the go-to guy for the Dolphins. But even if not, in a timeshare with Raheem Mostert, you should still feel very happy about what you have in the Dolphins running back who gets the Giants coming off a short week back at home in week number 5. Jake Ferguson finding himself as a tight end that I think fantasy managers can start to rely on, especially the way Dak Prescott's relying on him. But Nico Collins has now worked himself into the conversation as not just a must-start wide receiver, but maybe a top 10 guy moving forward. It's now 3 or 4 games where he's been impressive. He's become just an exceptional fantasy option since C.J. Stroud has turned into this great fantasy quarterback on top of just being a great reality quarterback. So I think Nico Collins is going to have a fantastic third-year breakout is what I was anticipating for him. Not to this heights by any stretch, but the way that he's playing right now, the way Stroud is playing right now, I think you just be thrilled with what Nico Collins has been able to produce, and I don't think it's going to slow down, at least to be inconsistent on several weeks. I think you're going to get a very productive receiver rest of the way.
I was just so thrilled to see Josh Jacobs look like Josh Jacobs again. Maybe not on the ground, but definitely in the passing game. Got into the end zone, was very involved for the Raiders. Hopefully, this is the taking off point for Josh Jacobs, and we don't have to worry about starting him again all season. Also, Christian Kirk looking like the #1 wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Actually has outscored Calvin Ridley on the season and each of the last 2 weeks. We'll see what happens when Zay Jones comes back, but for now, he's an easy start. But the big winner and the guy I'm most excited about, Anthony Richardson, 200 passing yards, another 56 on the ground. Played just fantastic football. Looks like a must-start top 6 fantasy quarterback for the rest of the season for the rookie Anthony Richardson.
Heath, I love hearing the praises being given to my Gator, Anthony Richardson, as a winner. What I hate,
Our Gator.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that to our Gator, Anthony Richardson. I don't think you're taking a lot of praise for this, though, Jamey, because my Panthers were losers on the field. I think we're probably losers also when it comes to the production that we're getting from Miles Sanders so far. What are you seeing there, Heath?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wonder, because we saw throughout the preseason and in week 1, Miles Sanders on the injury report with that groin injury. It kind of went away for a couple of weeks, and he dominated touches for the Panthers. And then what we saw last week, he was on the injury list with that groin again, and there was more Chuba Hubbard. And frankly, Chuba Hubbard looked a lot better in this game than Miles Sanders. I would really like to see Sanders get through this week of practice without an injury designation if I'm going to feel comfortable starting him as a #2 running back. I mean, we're moving into that bye season, so you may not have a choice, but you don't feel good about him. You can't feel good about Quentin Johnston's first game without Mike Williams. Didn't seem to matter much for him. A lot more routes, not much else. George Kittle disappears as soon as Brandon Ayuk comes back. And when is this Jacksonville passing game going to get going for Trevor Lawrence? Listen, it was a win. He played okay. He only threw 30 pass attempts, a low volume game, but this is not the fantasy production that we drafted him for. I can't feel comfortable starting him next week in London against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it's been bad for a couple quarterbacks that thought we're going to have breakout seasons. Joe Burrow as well, dealing with that calf injury, just looks awful at this point. Ramondre Stevenson, I don't really worry about Ezekiel Elliott. I worry about this entire Patriots offense at this point. Hopefully there'll be a get-right game coming. I don't necessarily think it's going to be week 5 against New Orleans. So just be patient with Ramondre, but still better than Zeke, just not great for your fantasy production. I guess, as Heath said, bad for George Kittle, bad for anybody named George, because George Pickens not only struggled in the game against the Texans as they lost from the Steelers, but now he loses another quarterback in Kenny Pickett. So we'll see if Mitch Trubisky can get George Pickens going. But aside from that 71-yard touchdown 2 weeks ago, it's been a little bit tough to trust Pickens, and I think it'll be the case moving forward. And then for Kyle Pitts, we thought, okay, maybe he goes overseas, things will be rectified. He's being outplayed by Jonnu Smith, his second tight end on his own team. So fantasy managers can't be thrilled about Kyle Pitts. But I hope Joe Burrow's going to get healthy soon. It's just been really frustrating to watch this. Now T. Higgins goes down. And so Joe Burrow's not somebody you could trust by any stretch moving forward. I already did some preliminary rankings for week number 5. I have Zach Wilson ahead of Joe Burrow. I never thought I would say that in my life.